You're watching the BBC. Within the last hour, Buckingham Palace announced that the Queen Mother died peacefully in her sleep at 3:15 this afternoon at the Royal Lodge, Windsor, at the age of 101. The Queen was by her bedside. The Queen Mother's coffin is expected to be taken to the Royal Chapel of All Saints in Windsor Great Park tomorrow morning. In the past few minutes, Prince Charles was said to be devastated and on his way back from his family skiing holiday with the Princes William and Harry. The Queen Mother's life, as we've been told, spanned the last century, and her life saw many phases too. Born a commoner, she would become a duchess and later queen. Her role as Queen Mother has lasted 5 decades. Nicholas Witchell now looks back at a long and eventful life.
She was born Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon in August 1900, the 9th of 10 children of a Scottish aristocrat. It was a happy childhood, much of it spent in the company of her younger brother David. But on Elizabeth's 14th birthday, the world went to war. Her elder brothers joined up. One of them was killed in the trenches. The family home became a convalescent hospital for wounded soldiers, and Elizabeth helped to run it. A lifelong sense of duty had taken root. 1918, the First World War had ended, and Elizabeth had entered London society. There she met the second son of the King, Prince Albert, Duke of York. Bertie was a shy man with a terrible stammer, but he wooed Elizabeth, and eventually in 1923 she agreed to marry him. The wedding was in Westminster Abbey. Plans to broadcast it on the wireless were shelved because the Abbey said men might be listening in public houses. After the service, the new Duchess of York made her first appearance on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, born a commoner, had joined the British royal family. The newcomer brought a breath of fresh air to a monarchy which was still steeped in the traditions of an earlier age. By the mid-30s, the Duke and Duchess had 2 daughters, Elizabeth and Margaret. But the course of all their lives was about to change forever. The Duke's elder brother succeeded to the throne in January 1936. But the new king, Edward VIII, had fallen in love with Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee. She was not acceptable as queen, and rather than give her up, Edward gave up his throne. Bertie was now king, his title George VI, and Elizabeth was his queen consort. The royal couple faced a double challenge: to restore the reputation of the monarchy and to steady the nerve of the nation as it faced its darkest hours. On the 3rd of September 1939, the king broadcast to the empire.
For the second time in the lives of most of us, we are at war.
By 1940, the Blitz had begun. British cities were bombed by German aircraft night after night. Every day, Elizabeth and the King toured the bomb sites to comfort and encourage.
Many there are whose homes have been shattered by the fire of the enemy. The dwellings can be rebuilt, but nothing can restore the family circle if a dear one has gone forever from it. The King and I are grateful to think that we and our family are remembered in your prayers.
After Buckingham Palace itself was bombed, Elizabeth said she felt she could once again look the East End of London in the face. And she declined suggestions to send the 2 princesses to safety in Canada. They cannot go without me, she said. I cannot go without the King, and the King would never go. The Second World War ended in 1945, and the King and Queen were at the centre of the national celebrations. But just 7 years later, the King was dead from lung cancer, and Elizabeth was a widow at the age of just 51. Her daughter was now the sovereign. Elizabeth was still a queen, but not the queen. She had to create a new role for herself. Which is what she did for nearly half a century, touring the country and touring the Commonwealth. She remained as busy as she had been before. In her later years, the royal family's domestic problems undoubtedly caused unhappiness. She was distressed by the breakdown of so many marriages and dismayed by signs that the relationship between monarchy and the people was growing weaker. Yet public respect for her never seemed to diminish. Her public engagements continued. Many of them recalled her role as wartime queen. This was 1995, the 50th anniversary of the end of the war.
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover. Tomorrow, just you wait and see.
With the year 2000 came her 100th birthday. It was a milestone she'd been determined to achieve, to receive her 100th birthday card from Buckingham Palace. Once more, she stood on the balcony with her family all around her. But even then, there was one more sadness to come, the death 18 months later of her younger daughter, Princess Margaret, after a debilitating illness. So much has changed in the many decades since Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon first stepped to the centre of the nation's affairs. She it was who helped to restore the royal family's reputation after the trauma of the abdication. She it was who found a way to lighten the royal touch without any loss of dignity. And she it was who, for more than 60 years as Queen Consort and then as Queen Mother, was a symbol of stability and reassurance in an ever-changing world. The last in a lifetime of journeys will bring Elizabeth here, to Windsor, to St. George's Chapel. Here, for centuries, kings and queens have said their private prayers, and many have found their final rest. To one side of the choir is a tiny chapel, newly fashioned from the ancient stone, in memory of George VI, Elizabeth's beloved Bertie. His resting place is marked by a plain marble slab, and here, beside him once more, Elizabeth's story will draw to a close.